I'm so glad to be here. This is the first time I come to People's Republic of California after I spoke out. Yeah, but I know there are a lot of patriots and conservatives in California, and I'm so glad you did not abandon California. This is such a beautiful state. We have to save it. We have to get it back. So thank you. I'm so glad to be invited here, and I learned so much from the first two speakers. And Kimberly talked about how to save America. We have to understand what America is. And we all have to really learn to appreciate this country and to learn about Constitution. And also, Steve talked about the containment. We're in a circle. And so I'm going to talk about history. And I think to know history, and will help us to escape the circle. And the reason that I can see what's happening without much trouble, and that a lot of Chinese who experience Cultural Revolution can see what's happening without trouble, is because we know history. We see it happening. We see it repeating. We can't be contained in that circle. So I'm just going to talk today mainly about history, and history that is repeating here in America. So my slides somehow did not survive the new program, look a little weird, but I hope at least the message is there. So I'm going to talk about what happened in China, the war on women, and then draw some parallels. So it did not quite line up, but so in the early 1900s, group of concerned and patriotic Chinese intellectuals launched a movement. It's called New Culture. China was in a very sad state. The dynastic system was overthrown, but what resulted was really warlords everywhere. China was not united, and China was a semi-colony of the Western power. And so they want to save China. They want to build a new China, so they look to the West. And they look for the solution in the West. They introduced liberalism, democracy, and science, and they think that can save China. And they fondly called democracy Mr. D, Mr. De, and science Mr. Sai. They think that is going to save China. So, fast forward a little bit. In 1919, the World War I ended. China actually participated on the Allied side, and so they expect that the Treaty of Versailles will return the former German colony back to China. What happened was that they returned that former German colony to Japan. And this is important, I think, for people to understand. Many intellectuals were disillusioned about Western democracy, Western liberalism, especially Woodrow Wilson. That's supposed to be their hero. So there is a connection there. I think it's important for us to understand it. It was at the same time, a new ideology was introduced to China through Russia. That was Marxism. So many people embraced Marxism and considered that the real solution for China's problems. And so now we have two. Actually, there was a divergence of the new cultural movement. There's part that still believe the liberalism, and there's a part that believe in Marxism. Both want to address the problem of women. And they believe that in order to bring China modernize China to democratic China, they have to solve the problems of women. And you can see that it did not line up correctly, but women were the most oppressed class in old China. And they never had the right to marry who they love. It's all arranged marriage, child, bride, polygamy, and all this. And the worst is foot binding. Yeah. And so both promised this, that they have to liberate women in order to build a new China. But communists, of course, they went further. They said, the Western liberalism won't work. Marxism will. And of course, they believe in violent revolution, and they believe in class struggle. And at the end, we know who won. So this is, I can't quite see what okay, this is what Mao believed. Mao was not just going to liberate women. He wanted women to be part of the revolution. And he did successfully bring women in. Women play such an important role in communist revolution, and especially rural women, because China back then was 95% rural population. So it was those peasant women sent their husband, sent their son to join the Red Army, and they provided support, and some of them actually participated in actual fighting, like the picture on the left. And there are stories about the women-only companies in Red Army. And so in 1949, the Communist Party declared victory. They won. Now they have control of China. And the first major political campaign they launched was the land reform. This is such an important campaign. Actually, it is the mother of all campaigns. And what comes later, the Cultural Revolution, is pretty much a replay of this campaign. So this was a campaign to get the land from the rich landlord and the rich peasants, give it to poor peasants. That's what Mao promised them. But they're not just going to take the land and give it to their poor. In order to have land, the peasants have to get involved, what's so-called struggle, class struggle. They have to fight or even kill in order to get their land. That is the process that the communists want everybody to go through so they become communist believers. And so in the land reform, that's the first time struggle session was introduced. The peasants have to go through this session, denounce the landlord, and many of the struggle session, was so brutal, absolutely brutal. And in the end, 2 million rich peasants and the landlords were killed. And then when I looked through, to prepare for this presentation, I looked through a lot of videos and pictures, and I just found out many of those, what the CCP called backbone activists, were women. Look at this. They have to be coached. They have to be taught how to do the struggle session. And they have to identify people that would do it so that others would follow. And women were used. I think women in general, I guess, more emotional and easier to manipulate. But that's important to see. Women, so many of them, become the backbone activists for the communists. Okay, all was good, okay? So everybody got free land, and then that's the result of their revolution. That's what they thought. Only 5 years later, in 1957, they were told, everyone have a little bit of land. It's not the way to have a better life, because it keep you kind of small, and and then in the process we're going to get rich and poor. We don't want that. We want everyone to be happy. So all the land is taken back by the state through collectivism. That's called people's commune. And people's commune is a big family. We all own the land. It's people's land. And now we know the people stand for state. And so they found that now they have nothing. They basically become landless again. So that's liberation. In the early stage of the people's commune, the women were told, now you are totally liberated. You are liberated from the endless chore at home, cooking. No, we don't need cooking. We have now collective dining. That's what they did. Every commune has what's called people's big dining hall. You just go there, and everything's provided by what? All the food was collected from each household. The tables, the utensils, everything was connected from every household. But they were told, no more chores for women, and forget about motherhood. We're going to take care of it. All the children, look at the propaganda picture, will be raised collectively, not by a village, but by commune. It takes a commune. And so, sounds good. And then you think women now will be happy. They're going to have a restful days ahead of them. Wrong. Mao did not liberate them for nothing. Mao wants them now to be part of the labor force. They want the women to work side by side. Sorry about my lung. COVID. I just cough sometimes when I talk. Okay. So they are now forced to work. Before, most women in the countryside, they mostly take care of home and children. Now they are forced to work. Now they become the property of the party. And this reminds me of a personal story. My mother joined the revolution in 1949. And of course, she was told, as everybody else were told, that family is secondary. Our loyalty is to the party, and party's interests always come first. So when I was 8, and my sister was 5, and she suffered from asthma, and she for a few days she was have asthma attack, looked kind of bad. So my mother asked for 1 day off to take care of my sister. She was denied. Yeah, denied, because there's something important that the party wanted her to do. So I was left to take care of my sister. I was only 8, and I could see that she could not breathe, and eyes started to roll. I was getting really scared. So fortunately, I was smart enough to get my neighbor to help me to get her into a clinic. Otherwise, she would have died. But no one questioned it. Of course, your mother made the right choice. Put the party's interest first. And the same thing is it's just a commonplace, and people accept it. And you know, the China's new dictator is Xi Jinping. But during the Cultural Revolution, his whole family was the victim because his father was purged, I think it's in 1962. So they were considered black class or enemy of the state. And he was really attacked by the Red Guards, and he ended up in a juvenile detention center. So one day, he escaped it, and he came home. And so he knocked the window, you know, to get his mother attention, and said he was hungry. Guess what his mother did? His mother reported him and took him back to the detention center. And this all considered normal. And that's how they destroy family and destroy women and motherhood. Okay, now we are told we are the new type of women. And what type? We are the Iron Girls. We are just as strong as women, as men. What men can do, we can do better. We are tough. We are genderless. We're just like men. Genderless, exactly. And here, I think, is a good illustration and what happened to women. This is Madame Mao. And you can see the progression of her. From she was a movie star in the 30s and the 40s, and second class, but nevertheless, you could see that she was attractive. And then she was a progressive. She was woke. So she decided communism is the way to save China. So she joined the communists, and become Mao's first wife. And she still look okay, still look like a woman. And guess what happened later? Gradually, she lost her femininity, and that's what happened to the rest of Chinese women. And the last picture, can you tell she's a man or woman? You know, kind of hard. That's every woman looked like during the Cultural Revolution. And she played a very, very important role to carry out Mao's agenda during the Cultural Revolution. And that, her story itself really tells the history. How communism used women, abused them, and really victimize them. And then sometimes make them also victimizers. And so that's how I grew up. I look just like a boy, except I have long hair. And even for the hair, there's only 3 allowed styles. You can never let your hair down. You have a choice of 2 little ponytail, short, and 2 big long pigtails, or short pigtails. That's it, or shortcut. That's it. The Red Guards will cut your hair off if you wore incorrect hairstyle or anything that makes you look feminine. Communists not only take away femininity. Femininity, we were taught, was toxic. Sounds familiar? Why it's toxic? It's weak. It's bourgeois. So we should get rid of it. Instead, we should have masculinity. That's revolutionary. That's strong. That's what we need. But they went beyond that. They not only turn women into men, they absolutely inject the toxic masculinity in women. Here's a picture on the right. This Red Guard, she was only 16. And her name is Song Bingbing. And she was lucky to be chosen to be the one represent the Red Guards in one of the first 8 rallies in Tiananmen Square to be received by Mao. She went up there and put the army band on Mao's arm, and it went kind of viral, the Chinese media. Mao asked her, "What's your name?" She said, "Song Bingbing." He said, "The Bin stands for gentle, right?" She said, "Yes." He said, "That's not a good name. We don't need gentleness. We need revolutionary." Well, and he suggested she change her name into Yao Wu. Yao Wu means power, not power, violence. So she changed her name. And I was like, I was so little, I took it as if she's the luckiest girl in the world that Mao gave her the correct name to be violent, to be militant. And guess what she did? She was from one of the most prestigious girls' middle school in Beijing. She and with other girls, ranging from 12 to 16, they torture, beat, and killed their principal, the lady on the left. That was the first killing in the Cultural Revolution, done by girls to a woman principal. That's what's happened. And nothing happened to them. No consequences. So since that time on, more killing. In the end of the Cultural Revolution, 20-some million people lost their lives. So it's not a cultural revolution. It was really a violent revolution. While you still kind of feel sympathetic to this teacher, you need to hear another story. She was not innocent. She was sent to the countryside as the work team to coach the peasants how to struggle against the landlord. And she, with other team member, the work team, killed some landlords. So she was absolutely not innocent. She was carrying out the indoctrination for the party, and that's what she got in the end. And that is, a lot of times, I'm trying to tell the teachers, you're so devoted to your woke ideology, you try to turn all the students into woke warriors. Watch out. Watch out what will happen to you. One day, the students will think you're not woke enough. And that's what happened to her. The other thing is that this violence was never dealt with. There's no justice. I guess this girl, Song Bingbing, where she is in America, living her American dream. She went to MIT, and now I think last time I checked, she works for the Massachusetts government, state government. That is, Americans don't understand China. They let in killers, and now they're living among us. They are the result of indoctrination, but they were killers. And the wound never healed because the family is still waiting for justice, and that will never come because the children today never heard about Cultural Revolution in China. They never heard Tiananmen Square massacre, indoctrination. They control history, and then they control the future of the country. What happened in China is what's happening in America. Among all this, the worst, the most brutal and bloody attack by CCP on women is the one-child policy. You probably heard a little bit of it. That was launched in the 80s and lasted until 2016. During those decades, 400 million babies were forcefully aborted. Pregnant women were hunted down as criminals and dragged to the hospital and had their baby aborted. And those who survived it were punished. I have a neighbor. She just disappeared. She went hiding. I did not know she was pregnant, but I think she went hiding when she started to show. So when she came back with the baby, it was too late. They can't kill the baby. So she was punished. So she was a manager of some kind of a skin clinic. After this, she was demoted into a janitor. And she had to find a huge fine. What happened to the lady on the bottom, on the left? She could not pay the fine, 40,000 yuan. So, well, she had abortion. That's not it, because a lot of people had the baby born, and if it's a girl, they killed the girl, because they could only have one. So what resulted is a severe imbalance of men and women, especially in the countryside. You probably, I'm sure one of you know someone adopted a baby from China. Never a boy, always a girl. So girl babies were either killed or set up for adoption. So the unbalance is so severe in the countryside, and men have no women. So that is the result now. A thriving sex trafficking. Girls were trafficked. And so 3 years ago, a traveling photographer just happened to find this woman in a hut, with a doorless hut, and she was in chain. And that went viral in social media. It turned out she was kidnapped. And all this work is by people on the internet. They found a missing child, a missing girl photo, and they believe that's the girl. And so she was sold several times and ended up with her current owner. And she was giving birth to 8 children. And she was sit there, basically any villager, male villager afraid to go there, just had sex with her. She no longer could talk, and her teeth were pulled out because she bit. And then, guess what happened? You would think the government would go and investigate. The government made her disappear. And anyone who go to that village today will be sent back, or even will be detained by police. And anyone post anything about this on social media will be shut down. They want people to forget. They can't solve a problem they created. So trafficking, sex trafficking was so rampant, and just not long ago, a college student in Beijing managed to escape from her owner and told the story. She was kidnapped in Beijing, and she was a college student and sold to some peasant somewhere in the countryside. So this is communism. They created problems, and their problems created more problems, and all against women. And of course, you don't hear this in the American media. Okay, so we grew up with this lie, at least I, that women are the backbone of the new China. And you heard that phrase because Joe Biden quoted, not knowing where it's from Mao. Women can hold half the sky. Remember that incident? He had no clue. Of course, he had no clue. So this is the Xi Jinping's core leadership. Do you see a woman holding the half the sky there? Of course not. Of course not. So In communist China, women were used, abused, attacked, and killed, or in the name of liberation. Very, very sad. Now, come to America. So, as I said, that there was no separate women's movement in China. It is always under the umbrella of communist revolution, which promised liberation. But in America, we did have a separate women's movement. Now they call it feminist movement. I think it's not appropriate to call it feminist movement. It's just the first one, suffrage. It's not a feminist movement, but now they say it's the first wave of feminist movement. What they ask something very simple: equal rights, right? Specifically, right to vote. Their cause was just. Their cause had support from the society, and they are our heroes. They made it possible that we women after them can vote, can participate in the political process. 60s, they call it second wave of feminism. What happened in the 60s and 70s? And here is the epic center. That is actually America's first cultural revolution. It is important for people to realize that. And it is kind of eerie to think about it. While China was having our cultural revolution, America was having their cultural revolution. Same time. Things has changed since then. From the 60s, it is no longer a separate movement. It was part of the Marxist revolution. What they want, what those women want, they want to destroy family. They want to destroy marriage. They want to destroy motherhood. And they want to destroy gender. But they really, really want to destroy capitalism. That's their goal. And that is the forerunner of BMMs. Those three women, they call themselves, not us, label them as Marxists. They call themselves trained Marxists. They are the offspring of the 60s Marxist feminist movement. And their goal is the same: destroy America. Someone summed this up nicely, and I think that's better than what I can say. The first is equal rights, just that simple. We want the same rights that a man has. And the second is they hate man. Yeah, they don't need man, but not just they don't need man, they hate man. And now they become man, just like in China. We become man. And then the fourth wave of feminism is what? Women become, and a man become women. That is the progress. Unbelievable. But, you know, look kind of weird, but compared with China, same playbook. I think it's important for people to understand, when I say history repeat, it's a history rhymes. They never repeat exactly, but it rhymes. It's from the same source, same playbook, Marxism. radical feminism have many offsprings. So one of them is, like in China, they drove women into fields, into factories. Here, they drove them into corporations. And this, single and childless become the something to strive for. When I was doing the research, I saw this Twitter feed come up. I think it's perfect. What she said is exactly a lot of women want to be. They want to climb the ladder. They don't want burdenous marriage and a family and children. And just like they become the serfs of the corporation. This is just one. And then what? Just like in China, they took femininity out of women and put toxic masculinity and make them killers. Same here. It's just so similar. What the feminism supposedly what they denounce is the man, the patriarchy. They make women the object of sex. And what's going on is the women, they absolutely volunteer to make themselves the object of sex. And then they have the Me Too movement and blaming men. So this is a lot of times talking about the container. Why there's so many women today? They are the one that defending the so-called productive freedom. They are the one pushing it. But outside that box is Marxism, is the destruction of religion and destruction of moral compass. And that's what happened in the 60s. You can have free sex. There is no constraint. You can have multiple partners one night. And then, of course, abortion was really necessary. And abortion, in that context, abortion is fundamental right for those women. One of the worst things out of feminism, radical feminism movement is the destruction of gender. They're the one that came up with this concept first. They say that gender was a social construct. Boys and the girl, they're born the same. We're giving the girls dolls so they become women. So guess what happened? This is the most poison fruit from the radical feminism, destruction of gender. And so now men took over womanhood. And who were pushing it? A lot of times the women. Look at that, the picture. The mother and daughter transition. The mother and son, I think, transition. And just not long ago, I heard a mother transitioned all her 4 kids. And so proud, full of love. And so women now really pushing that agenda that destroyed themselves. And so transgender, at least, they admit there's a gender. There's the men and the women, even though they want to transition on the opposite. But what's worse than that is non-existence of gender, non-binary. There's no such thing as gender, right? You can be whatever, and that is the poison of Marxist feminism. So all this, actually, get out of that box. And I think that so many people just trapped in this transgender. Why there's such a thing as transgender? Why we even talk about it? It's because our foundation is destroyed. And God is removed from our lives. And that's why people don't know what's right, what's wrong. And so that's what we need to get back to. And understand that they want to destroy family. The only way they can destroy family is because they destroyed God. Yeah. So I just talked to a few people, look like not everyone realized I just published the book. And I hope that you will get it, because this is in this book, I laid out the parallels between the two cultural revolutions, the American Cultural Revolution and the Chinese Cultural Revolution. When you see the parallels, you will no longer be contained in that box. You know this is something that happened before, and this is something that happening today is from the same source. That source is Marxism. So I hope I get the message out. Thank you.